Hello, everyone, and how are you doing today? I hope you are well. I hope everything is good with you. My name is Joshua Alade, and I know it's rare for you to see me online at about this time. The beautiful part is that I have a fantastic guest with me, Trevor Waldock. Today, for the first time in 2 years, we are bringing the youth SDGs Cafe online. We've always wanted to do this, and let's say COVID-19 has given us the opportunity to be able to have this wonderful conversation, especially about resourcing young people, which has always been our goal at the Nigerian Youth SDGs Network. I hope that you are safe, staying safe. I hope that everything is good on your part. I know that we are living in a very unprecedented time, and it requires that we are strong, and also we preach the gospel of togetherness and solidarity, especially at these times. One thing we know as humans is that we would always face challenges, but what makes us strong is how we respond to it. And I know that you might be anxious right now, you might be having a lot of anxiety, but I want you to know that everything is going to be fine. We are going to go through this. We went through the Great Depression. We went through the 2008 global economic downtime. We are still going to go through this together, and we are going to win. So, the reason why we are having this conversation today is because we are curious with this pandemic. What should what should a good leader do now? You know that leadership is essential in our world today. So this is why we're having this conversation, and I'm so happy to have Trevor Waldock. Trevor Waldock is a global youth leader, someone who is passionate about ensuring that young people, especially on the African continent, take leadership roles. And he's the founder of the Emerging Leaders. This is a network of youth organization in the UK, and they have been instrumental in supporting leadership on the African continent. And one of the things that attracted me to Trevor is the recent partnership that his organization had with One Young World. And when I read through his bio and the good things that they are doing in the UK and around the world, I said it would be fantastic to have him just talk to us, to share his own leadership experience with us. One thing is important at this time, which is understanding how we can move beyond COVID to ensuring that we acquire the right leadership skills, that's not only that you need, but the ones that your community need, as well as the leadership skills that Nigeria needs to be able to beat COVID-19. So, not to take so much of our time, I'm going to be inviting Trevor to really share with us on the topic COVID-19. What should a good leader do now? Hello, Trevor.
Hi, thanks, Joshua. And hello to everybody. Good afternoon to you across the whole of Nigeria. What a pleasure it is to be with you this afternoon. It's a real joy to be in your meeting. So, Joshua asked me to just give 2 minutes on what Emerging Leaders was, why I started it, and then I'm going to answer his question. So, I've spent my life developing leaders. But back in 2005, I was in the slums of Lusaka in Zambia, and seeing the devastation of what happened in a community with HIV/AIDS in extreme poverty. And as I saw everything was broken, everything was broken. And there was just a profound sense of this is not okay. But the question I was asking myself is, how are people going to get out of poverty? I could see that they were sitting around waiting. They were waiting for the government or the local chief or somebody else to come and fix their lives for them. And what I realized is nobody's coming. Nobody's coming. The only way you're going to get out of poverty is if you learn to lead yourself. So my next thought was, well, who is going to bring leadership development to these really vulnerable communities? So that's why I established Emerging Leaders, is how can we bring world-class leadership development to the youth in the world's most vulnerable communities. So that's what I've been doing for the last 15 years. And you can read all about that on Emerging Leaders website. We focus mainly in Africa, but also in the last few years in Asia. And we've gone into any African country or Asian country where we've had a partner who has invited us in to their particular country. So I've not been to Nigeria. I have been to West Africa, South Africa, East Africa. So today I feel like I'm coming to Nigeria. So I'm very happy to talk to you about Emerging Leaders or point you to their website and the new CEO, Steve Miles. So very happy to do that. So let's look at this important question, because we're all faced with a global challenge. I'm locked down in my house here in the UK. I hear your lockdown is ending. So we all face this huge challenge in every way, to our physical health, our mental health, our economic health. Everything is under challenge. So I want to answer the question, what would a good leader do now? Three things I want to talk about. I want to talk about you and your identity. Then I want to talk about you and your vision. And then I want to talk about your heart and your character. So let's get started with your identity. Let me give you a definition of leadership. There are so many definitions in the world. I've only ever used one in all the countries that I have worked in. And it says this: leadership is the ability to create a story that will affect the thoughts, feelings, and actions of other people positively. Let me say that again. Leadership is the ability to create a story that will affect the thoughts, the feelings, and the actions of other people positively. You see, every one of our lives is a real story. It's being written every day. Every day you are writing another page of your life story. And every day Nigeria is writing its own life story. So there is a story of Nigeria, the story of your district, but there's a story of your life. So the issue is, for each one of us, is do we see ourselves as the author of our life story? What is very clear is, if you are not the author of your life story, if you don't have the pen for your own life story, somebody else will. That might be someone else in government. It might be someone in a gang. It might be someone with more power, more money. Leadership is that you have the pen to write your life story. So when I talk about identity, it's this: if you don't see yourself as a leader, you won't lead. So identity means I see myself as a leader. See, if you don't see yourself as the leader, you will spend your life waiting for someone else to come along. We will spend our life waiting for the government to create youth jobs. That's what happens. We will spend our life waiting for the government to fix this issue or that issue. We'll spend our life waiting for someone else to come up with a job or come up with the solutions. If you see yourself as the leader, you are the person who's going to fix the problem. You are. That's what I mean by identity. You need to start answering that question. Do I see myself as a leader? Yes, I do, because I have my pen. If you've seen an issue, any issue in Nigeria, then you are the person to do something about it. You are. If you see yourself as a leader, you are the author of a new story in that area of your life or Nigeria's life. So you need to write it. Don't wait. You need to lift up your head. You know the difference between a chicken and an eagle? A chicken has its head down on the ground and it can only see the tiny little seed in front of it. That's all it can see. The eagle flies high. The eagle is looking at the big picture. It's watching what's going on everywhere. It works out its strategy for catching the mice by flying high. And because it sees everything, it can act specifically. So number one, your identity. See yourself as a leader. My second point is this, is your vision. Now, vision is of the eyes. We have these two physical eyes, but we also have another set of eyes. They're called the eyes of our mind. What you use when you come up with ideas or imagination, you are using an internal set of eyes. Now, everything is created twice. First of all, it is created in the head, and then it is created in reality. Take this laptop computer I'm sitting at. First, somebody invented it in their head. They came up with an idea. And then they took that idea up here and they turned it into an actual manufactured laptop. It's true of the chair you're sitting on. It was an idea in someone's head, and then it became a reality. Everything is created twice. So the question for you as a young leader is this: what is the story that you want to write with your life and any of the situations that you face in front of you? It's easy to look at the problem. It's easy to see the negative. What I'm asking you as a leader is, what is the story you would like to be written about that issue? You know, there are two dimensions to vision. There is the immediate, the now, and then there is the future. Now, I'm going to use an example to illustrate this of cleaning the environment of waste plastic. And we can also then talk about COVID, but I just want to use an example. So we know the effects of plastic in the world. It is destroying communities. It's destroying the environment. It's destroying our oceans and our beaches. It's polluting our water streams. It's infecting where people drink water from and creating health risks, as well as it getting inside of animals. It's a big issue. So if we agree, we need to clean up Nigeria's plastic, okay? So I'm just going to put that there as an example, and then I'm going to use that to illustrate the now of vision and the future of vision. So let's talk about the now. So if we look at the situation that's in front of us, like with COVID, what do you see right now? As you look around as a young leader, what are you seeing that is not okay? That's where it will start. Are you seeing that people are not getting food? Are you seeing that people are suffering with loneliness? Are you seeing that people are caught up in fear? Are you seeing health issues, education issues? As you look around all the issues, a friend of mine in Rwanda, he can't walk. He can't get out of his house. He can't even get out in his wheelchair now. So that's an issue. What are we going to do about that for him? So when we're looking at now, we look at the situation and we say, what can we do? Maybe you create a WhatsApp group and record encouraging messages for young people. Maybe you record encouraging messages for disabled people, or poems or songs. Maybe you help people just with social distancing. Maybe you clean up the water in their community. Maybe you make face masks. Maybe you start running seminars for young people about creating employment. This is what I mean by the now dimension of vision. Look at what's going on right now and say, what can we do? Where's the problem? What can we do? Now, let me illustrate that with our example of plastics. When I was in Malawi, I came into a community that was covered in plastic, all on the streets, in the rivers. The thing about this community is there was no library for children, no library at all. So someone had the vision to create a library in the community. And the way they did it They mobilized the whole community to pick up all of the plastic, and they recycled the plastic for money. And with that money, they built a library. So that community now has a library built with the money from recycled plastic. And then every house in that community has dug a pit by its house to put all its other garbage. So that community is now a clean community. Now, who led that? The answer is the young people. They made this happen. Okay? The young people did that. So that's an example of the now of vision. The second kind of vision is looking into the future. To look into the future requires that you have what is called a step change in your thinking. Normally, our thinking just goes little bit to little bit to little bit to little bit. But what we need for the future is we need a big step forward. Let me give you an example. Mobile phones in Africa. Before the increase of mobile phones in Africa, everyone in the world had a telephone that was connected to a cable. That's how you got it. And sometimes you would walk down the street in Nigeria and one person, would have a telephone. And you'd pay them the money because they had the phone and they had the cable. So what they said was, look, we can't afford to wait until we get telephone cables in the whole of Africa. It'll never happen. So what they did is they jumped over that kind of telephone and went straight into this thing called a mobile phone. And now you all have mobile phones because somebody had the vision for what a world would look like if we could put phones into everybody's hands. It's called disruptive thinking. Okay? And that's what it requires you now. The world needs you to start practicing disruptive thinking. And by that, I don't mean disruptive like troublemaker, not that kind of disruptive, but disruptive as in let's do something different. Let's not just do what we've always done. There is a great saying by an English playwright, guy who wrote plays, George Bernard Shaw. He said this. He said, the reasonable person, that means the average person, the person who just thinks like everybody else, adapts himself to the world. So the reasonable average person walks through the world and they just fit in. They just go along. They adapt to how the world is. They say, well, that's how it is. So the reasonable man adapts himself to the world. But the unreasonable man persists in trying to adapt the world to himself. In other words, the unreasonable person says, I'm going to change things. I'm not going to sit and wait. I'm not going to do what everyone else has done. This needs to change. This is not okay. I'm going to make sure the world adapts to me, not me adapt to the world. So what Shaw says was all progress depends on unreasonable people. Now, let me be clear. Unreasonable doesn't mean badly behaved. It means people who aren't just thinking like everybody else, who aren't just saying, well, we can't change that. That's how it's always been done. The world will not change with young leaders who just say, oh, well, that's how it is. It will change because young leaders say, how do we want it to be? How do we want it to be? So creating a new future starts with the vision that says, how do we design the future that we want to have? You can't just hope to have the future that you want in Nigeria. You have to design it. You have to design it. You don't have to sit and wait for governments to design it. Often people in positions of power have never been trained as leaders. I hate to say it, but they haven't. They've got to their positions of power for all kinds of reasons, but they have not been trained as great leaders. So I'm not saying they're not good people. They could be very good people, but they're not necessarily trained how to create vision. We need to start by, in our minds, designing the future. So let's give an example. Nigeria is saying it wants to have an oil-free dependent economy for the future. 95%, I believe, of Nigeria is dependent on oil for its money right now. Well, in the future, that's just not going to work. You know, we need agriculture, we need manufacturing. What vision says is, let us design a country that is not dependent on oil in our heads. Let's create the plan. What does it look like? What are young people doing? How are they being educated? How are jobs being created? Where is the economy going to be? You know, it may be something like, we are going to create big cooperatives of young people to get back into agriculture and create big agricultural cooperatives. We're going to start not just growing produce, but we will package that produce and we will sell it at high value to other countries. So you won't get there without first describing the future in your own mind in detail. Like, run the movie in your head of what the future will look like. This is what is required, even in a time like this. You know, the biggest danger of COVID is that as things ease down, life will go back to the normal. Because the normal wasn't that good. The normal was not creating jobs for young people. We don't want to go back to high youth unemployment. And what you will find is that people will say to you, but you can't do that. This is the way it is. And I'm saying, as a leader, challenge the way it is. It needs unreasonable people. Let me use the issue again of plastics. So there was a guy called Boyan Slat from Holland in Europe. When he was 18 years old, he looked at the issue of plastic and he said most of the plastic, 25%, ends up in the ocean. And what he said is, we've got to change that, not just clean our beaches and clean our rivers. We've got to change the ocean. This is 18 years old, he said this. So he created the Ocean Cleanup Project. And his big idea was, let us use the movement of the ocean itself to clean up the ocean. So you do not have to be 65 to come up with a great idea. You can be 18 and come up with a world-changing idea. Now, Boyan Slat went to 100 senior leaders with his idea for money, for funding. 99 of them never even replied to him. The one person that replied to him told him he was stupid, he was crazy, and he should just go home. Now, thankfully, he did not give up, because Boyan Slat is one of these unreasonable people. And as you and I sit here right now, the ocean is being cleaned. So vision is my second point. My third point is your heart and your character. So who you are as a person, your heart and your character will shape everything that you do. Your heart and your character will shape who you are becoming, the role model that you are to other young people, the legacy that you leave in your life, and every action, every day will be shaped by your heart and your character. Now, I don't know how it is in Nigeria, but in Kenya, a young person witnesses 12 acts of corruption every day. 12 actions of corruption every day. Now, what do I mean by heart and character? Well, by heart, I mean, who is your action serving? If you're setting up a business, for example, who is it serving? Is it just to make you rich? Is that all it's for? Because that is a waste of time. All right? That's not a good heart. That's just for you. That's called selfish. Heart means, who am I serving with whatever it I'm doing, whether I'm a business entrepreneur or a social entrepreneur, who am I serving? And character means, are my actions and my attitudes, are they lifting people up or are they pushing them down? Are they building them up or are they oppressing them? Because everything you do, every word you say, every action you take will either be lifting people up or pushing them down. You can say, wow, that's a great idea. I love that. Can I really encourage you? Or you could say, you're stupid, you're crazy, get out of my way, you're hopeless. Just those words either lift someone up or they push them down. Let me focus on two aspects of heart and character that were important for me in emerging leaders. First one is values. Know what your values are. If you go onto One Young World's website, they've just published an article today that I've written for them about values and about the compass. That's what values are. They're like a compass. We'll send you the link to the article at the end of this talk. When I started Emerging Leaders, I hadn't got a clue what I was doing. I just had a big idea. That's all I had, just a big idea. I hadn't got a clue about anything. I didn't understand the complexity of the communities I was working with. We didn't have any training programs. We had no funding. We had no trainers. And we had one partner organization. That's all we had. But what I had was some values. I believed in justice. I believed that where you're born in the world should not limit your access to the best available opportunity. So I believed in justice. I believed in equality, and I believed in human potential for every single life. Those values are what kept me going. Those values are what helped me to solve the problems. So actually, character and heart shaped emerging leaders. The other things follow. The second thing is interdependence, not independence, but interdependence. As a leader, your biggest enemy is not going to be lack of knowledge. It will not be lack of skill. It will not even be lack of funding or not having enough followers on Facebook. Your biggest enemy is your ego. Your ego. You see, ego is the number one enemy of all good leadership. Ego tries to be a hero. Ego wants to go it alone. Ego wants to be famous. But reality is interdependent. Everything in the whole world is dependent on something else. So if you try and be ego-centered, you are working against reality. Interdependence is how reality works, which means this: we can do more together than we can on our own. And that's what I want to say to you all. There's a lot of you, and there's a big network that you can reach. You can do more together than you can on your own. There is no reason why this group of people, if you use your whole network, cannot come up with a plan for how to solve youth unemployment in Nigeria. You can do it together. You can't maybe do it on your own, but together you can. There is an African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, you go alone. But if you want to go long, you go together. Now, who of you knows the name Martin Cooper? Martin Cooper. Do you know him? And do you know what he is famous for? My guess is every one of you has his product in your hand. His product in your hand. Martin Cooper was the inventor of the mobile phone. Now, here's the thing. All of you know about mobile phones, but nobody knows about Martin Cooper. Why? Because he did not let his ego get in the way. He did not need you to know his name. What he needed you to do was to have the phone. The 33rd president of the United States said this. He said, you can achieve almost anything in your life as long as you don't mind who gets the glory. So ego is the number one enemy of leadership. If you put your ego aside and get together and say, here's a problem that we can solve, then you will be amazing. You will be amazing. I want to offer you something. So if you go on my personal website, trevorwaldock.net, and you look on the top, you will see there is a link. You can click on that. And I am offering you today a free copy of my book, Doing the Right Thing, Getting Fit for More Leadership. Digs into this whole issue of heart and character. So if you go on there, it's yours for free. It's a free download, okay? You can also sign up to the newsletter, and I'll send you leadership articles or whatever to send you that. So, so that's the end of the talk bit. Now, I've been sent some questions this morning. So I've sent 5 questions. So what I've been asked to do is read the question and then give you my answers. So let me just get the questions up. So question number 1 I was asked this morning was, what was the biggest learning curve for you as a young person learning about leadership, and how did this affect the outcome, your life outcome, and the choices that you made? That was a great question. The biggest thing that shaped my leadership life is I had a huge failure at the age of 18. I failed almost all of my exams that would have taken me on to further education. I had been expected to pass them, but I failed. Only one I just passed. Everything else I failed. So I was not able to go on to further education. So it was a crushing failure that made me stop and assess my whole life. And it was months of real painful depression and hopelessness and despair, to be honest. And what got me out of that? Number 1 is hope. Hope came to me, and hope came to me through a person. So just a friend coming alongside and encouraging me is what gave me the hope. So just you encouraging each other is so powerful. The second thing that happened was I was converted to leadership. I came across leadership as an inspiring, life-changing opportunity for us all. So I was inspired to change the world when I saw the power of what one person leading their life could do. And that links to the third thing that really changed for me was I began to see myself as a leader. I stopped waiting for other people to tell me how my life should be going, what subjects I should be studying. I actually started writing my own story. So that was question number 1. Question number 2 says this. It says, I live in a country where corruption is rife and jobs are scarce. If you were to be me, what would you do? My simple answer, if I were you, I'd create a job. I'd create a job because that is the future. Stop waiting. Stop waiting for governments to create jobs. The issue of youth unemployment in Africa is so big, it's impossible for a government to solve. The only way the problem of youth unemployment will be solved is if we can actually empower every young person to lead their own lives. Every young person has got the potential to be an entrepreneur, a business entrepreneur, or a social entrepreneur. Every single young person. Let me say that again. Every single young person in Nigeria has got the potential to create their own jobs. What we have to do is just get good leadership training to them, share these kinds of videos. I've got other videos that we've made with emerging leaders. I can give you access to 13 short little leadership videos. Just help each other with resource. But I think in terms of the issue around corruption is you've got to solve it together. You have to solve it together. You see, if the culture is one of corruption, then the only way you're going to change it is by creating a different culture. And you can't easily do that on your own. Now, I'm told there are 10,000 in this network. If 10,000 young people had zero tolerance to corruption, zero tolerance, 10,000 young people said, we're going to start a new life campaign and it's called No to Corruption. I guarantee 10,000 young people who took that seriously, you would change the culture. You would have to be taken seriously. Because you say, no, we are not going to go that way. The other thing I would do as young people, I would sit down and I would make a list of all of the damage that corruption does. Let me give you one. Corruption destroys trust. 99.9% of the economy is based on trust. So if 99.9% of the economy is based on trust, and corruption destroys trust, then corruption destroys the economy. And that means every household in Nigeria will suffer. Everyone. So come together, come up with a list of compelling reasons why corruption is wrong. Be the voice that says, this is why it's wrong. Make the case. Make the case around what are the issues, like trust, of why we are not going to go around corruption, and act together. Because that's where the courage will be, and you will find a voice together. Lots we could say about that. Question number 3. Says, people say that leadership shows forth in crisis. Can you share an experience where crisis wrought out your leadership ability? That's a great question. To be honest, when you're an entrepreneur, it feels like every day is almost a crisis because there's all kinds of issues coming up all the time. So my biggest crises probably have been personally around illness. I had 2 major illnesses, and a huge relationship crisis in my life that changed everything. So they were the big crisis. What did I learn out of them? The first thing I learned is you need to call on your own potential. Call to yourself. If you believe that the potential is in you, then call to yourself. Trevor, come on, you can do this. It's within you. Call. There is so much within you. So much. You've got like 50 billion neurons in your head. And there is so much potential inside a human being. So call on your own potential. And then you've got to fight fear. And the only way to fight fear is with love and courage. The only way you can fight fear. You cannot negotiate with fear. All right? You can't have a conversation with fear. Love and courage. The third thing is like the chicken and the eagle, is lift up your head. When the pressure is on, when the crisis is on, it pushes you down. Your first action as a leader is lift up your head. And the last thing is we need others. Build a team around yourself, whether it's a business team or just a team of friends. You know, I might call it Team Trevor or Team Joshua, or just have a team in your life that supports you and you support each other. Question number 4, it says, as a leader, what would you do? Your advice be? My grandparents were poor. My parents were too poor. I am contemplating leaving this country to get a job abroad, to have a better life and maybe break the cycle of poverty in my family. That's a huge question, and I really, only you can answer whether you stay or go. If everybody leaves Nigeria, then Nigeria is worse. I would love to see the youth of Nigeria grow in their leadership, everyone. I believe every young Nigerian has the potential to create a job. So I think that's really important. I think the crucial thing is I really understand when you say my grandparents were poor and my parents were poor. The thing about poverty is it gets into the head. It's not just an issue of money. It gets into the head. And it gets into the head over the generations. So it becomes really deeply rooted in the head. If you take your head into another country, then you've still got your head. We call them poverty mindsets. So all you're going to do is take your poverty mindset from Nigeria into somewhere else. That's why you can go to a rich country and you'll still end up poor. You'll still end up in a desperate situation because your mindset hasn't changed. On all our programs, the first thing we do is change mindsets. Without mindset change, your life story will not change. So change your mindsets first. And like I say, I'll send you some video links, and Steve Miles, the head of the CEO of Emerging Leaders, will talk you through some of those leadership mindsets. And then the last question I was asked was, how did you grow your leadership? Again, another great question. Thank you. The answer for me is I have always put myself in the way of challenge. I put myself into the pathway of challenge. And I've said, okay, I don't know what to do here, but I'll find out. I give myself permission in every situation to not know, to not know, to say, I don't know the answer here, but I believe there is an answer. So let's go find it. I was mentoring a young guy from Rwanda before this call, and he has a huge challenge for his little charity that he set up. Huge challenge. And it's like we're sitting talking, and he doesn't know, and I don't know what the answer is, but I believe that we can help him find the answer. And at the end of it, we came up and said, actually, there's two people he could talk to. Great. That's what he's going to do today. He's going to go and talk to these two people, and maybe they can help him talk to some other people. So I've always grown my leadership through the crises, through the challenges, and saying, okay, what can we do? What can we do here? So they're the 5 questions. I'm going to hand back to Joshua, and I don't know whether there are more questions or what, Joshua, but we're in your hands now.
Wow. Wow. Trevor, thank you. Like, I was just here, just nodding my head because most of what you were saying just like resonates with me. And I know that everybody who has listened, who has joined this chat would have gotten one or two things to take back home because I like our world today, we are in dear need of leadership,
Mm.
especially in a third world country like Nigeria. Leadership is important. And you know, when you were sharing your experience about how you went through a difficult time in your life that brought forth your leadership ability, it really resonates with me because I've been down before, and the only thing that could bring me up was the pain I had to go through. I've tried looking through the comment sections. We do not have questions at all, but people have been responding to points that jumps at them. So what I have done is try to ensure that every comment gets to get screened, displayed on the screen. So for people who will be joining this chat later on, they can actually see comments that resonated with other people who were on this video together. So right now we do not have any questions. Um, but I want to throw something at you, Trevor.
Mm.
Uh, One of the things that we want to do as a network in June is that we want to launch a mentorship program for youth leaders. We are starting with 50 youth leaders for two months. And I want to ask you, is this something that you'd be interested in being a part of?
Sure. I'm interested in helping anything that helps young people to fulfill their leadership potential,
Hmm.
for sure. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So for everyone who has joined this live event, we want you to know that the Nigerian Youth SDGs Network, it's about helping you develop your leadership ability, creating an opportunity for you to be able to create change on in your community and also on the continent of Africa. And you need to understand that we all have been called to lead, and it is very important that you try to look out for a mentor or a coach if you want to get better as a leader. It's good to read books, but it's very, very important that you get a coach or a mentor, especially at this time. We are living in a very unprecedented time, so it's important that you get a coach or a mentor that is going to help you through your leadership journey. And do not forget the offer that Trevor has given to us. I'm going to let it scroll again on the screen. So if you go to www.trevorwaldock.net, you are going to get access to a free resource, his book, that you can download to help you on your leadership journey. And I'm sure that you can also find Trevor's email there. You can send him an email if you want to get to know more about the work that he's doing, or you have more questions and you need somebody to really answer you. So right now, I really want to say thank you to everybody who has joined this chat. It's the first time, and we are going to have many more of these going forward. Thank you so much, Trevor,
It's a
for
pleasure.
for coming up, for sharing of your wealth of experience with us in the third world country. We are really really glad to listen to you. Thank you so much.
Okay, and Joshua, I will send you the link to the article on One Young World, and I will send you the link to the little mini videos of teaching.
Okay.
You can put that onto the Facebook links as well.
Okay,
Okay,
sure. All right.
great. All right.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thank you so much.
everybody. Have a great day, everyone.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. So everybody, thank you so much. We've come to the end of our first Youth SDGs Cafe on Facebook. We are going to be having more conversation with youth leaders, people from different parts of the world. We're going to have people come here to talk about storytelling. We're going to have people who are going to come here to talk about maybe even blockchain technology, investment for you as a young person, how you can get better with the work that you do. So we are going to invite a lot of resource persons to just make you prepared for the life after COVID-19. So once again, thank you so much. Do not stop believing in your ability to lead change. That you are a young person does not mean that you cannot lead change in your community. If Trevor Waldock can do it, if all the people you look up to can do it, you can do it. So at this point in time, COVID-19 is an opportunity for you to stand up, get counted, and then take up leadership in your community. Thank you so much for joining this live event, and I hope I'll be able to see you next time. Take care of yourself, and bye.